All right, so let me give you a better, I guess, the context and better premise on that, right? Is we talk about in business leverage, right? All right, that's one thing, right? Like, where's the biggest leverage points that you can get so you can not only get more freedom in life but get more money, right? People talk about that, right? Leverage other people's money, other people's influence, other people's time, other people's blah blah blah, right? Leverage, right? As well as people say, well, you're lacking this, you're missing this, so you need to learn about this or you need to learn about that. Okay, so you're on this constant. I just call it the constant journey of trying to learn more stuff or learn more things, right? From the outside, right? From the outside. Versus, for me, is when I discovered my unique strength, it was validation because nothing was wrong with me, right? Nothing was wrong with me. It's just who I am. That's my instincts. And I can't fight my instincts. And the fact that I'm fighting it, that's why I'm constantly at times was feeling very stressed or doing things where I was really, really excited about it. I'm just like magically like, man, like I got this done. Like I'm fucking Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man all in one, you know, right? And then other times I'm just like, oh, I don't want to do this. And you just stare at a computer like that, you know, do other stuff or something like that, you know? So when you figure out the instincts, it's nothing wrong with you, you know, and that's what really I think is the most important part, because really, right, like imagine someone like that's like, and this is like kind of like me, right, is just doing something and thinking like that's my truly strength, right? Because people see me and they're like an Asian dude, right? They're just like, man, you must be like a super math whiz, right? And not only a math whiz, but you probably are like reading books all the time, and not only that, but I do audiobooks, right? And then it says, yeah, you probably are good at systems too, but when you look at your Kolbe score, I'm really not. Those are learned traits because people over the course of years and years have freaking drilled that in me, saying, I need to learn how to become a better researcher. I need to learn how to build systems and processes much better. And I keep on telling myself that, hey, I need to learn that. So I picked up all the books I could, read it, learned from coaches and people that kept on teaching that stuff. And I got pretty good at it, right? But I'm not great at it. And then once I stopped doing that, where I just passed that on to someone else that's actually great at it, it's much better. You know, you can, what's the old saying? You can go. It's a lot easier to go from good to great versus mediocrity to competency, and right. So becoming competent on something. So mediocrity to becoming competent on something. So. And that's the approach where, and I think that's where a lot of times people hear from the outside world, hey, work on your passion, do stuff that you love. But really, if you don't know what your natural instincts are and how you react in certain situations, then you might have an idea that this is your passion, but really it's based on something else, so.
Like everybody getting involved in podcasting or a YouTube thingy, whatever.
Yeah.
You're really not diving deep and figuring out what they're really good at, like the natural talent.
Yeah, correct. Like for example, I'm a quick start guy, right? So when I see a hot market, I'll hop on, and that's why even like in the real estate, I hopped on and I started creating videos like crazy, right? And I'm marking the crap out of that video, But then now I dread to get on video. Yeah, I really do. I dread. I'm just like, I just want to be a hermit somewhere, That's because I'm introverted, I'm just like, and then I haven't even spoken on stage for like how many years now? Yeah.
We accidentally found a particular buyer that's more aggressive than your traditional buyers that Matt just talked about.
Yeah.
And that particular buyer had to do with just Wall Street, or what I like to call hedge fund buyers.
I used to do that all the time. Why? Because for me, it was just like quick starting, and like no one in my industry at that time was doing it that way. So I thought I was innovative and cool. And now that everyone else is doing it, I'm just like, been there, done that, So versus like someone like that I know, I have a client of mine who's a super high fact finder and follow through, right? So they're like more of like the franchise model, right? They're just constantly thinking of like, how can I make some things and systematize it and delegate it and sell it, right? So their thing is what? Blogging. Like they rock it on blogging. Not only blogging that they're good at that, but then they can outsource it to someone else to write it, because they can create a system to get content creators to actually procure it for their blog. Right, like you try to give that to me, like heck no, like I wouldn't even want to manage those people. I wouldn't even want to do any of that stuff, So, but for her, like they freaking crush it based on that, yeah. So, and then the other person is like, high implementer. I typically, I don't have clients that are high, like super high. Typically my client that I attract is like super fact finding with low quick start. So then I just tell them, I say, basically I just tell them, you just stop doing that and go do this, so it works really well.
So you fill the gap.
Yeah, I fill the gap. Yeah. So, and that's really, again, going back to, understanding that is going to be a validation, or it's going to be a huge discovery, right? When you take the assessment, either you already knew deep down inside what kind of person you were, right? And you're just kind of like, wow, I think so, because people have been saying this to me. And then that validates, and you're like, okay, cool, nothing's wrong with me. Right, and or you just see, maybe you're oblivious to it, and then you don't know it at all, and you discover, and then you might be like, oh snap, maybe, yeah, that's right, that's why people were saying that, So
you said that you haven't been on stage in a long ass time. Why are you coming on stage for Getting the Lab Live, and what are you going to share with us?
You. Yeah, if it was anyone else, I probably wouldn't. Yeah. I'll make up some excuse, and I'll be like, nah, I don't want to do this, But it's interesting, when I see, because sometimes, you don't know what you don't know, right? That's the old cliche saying, right? You don't know what you don't know, and I know quite a lot of stuff, so sometimes I get really calloused about the whole industry, and even in business in general, right? Is my background, as I always said, is or if you don't know, if your audience doesn't know, it's in real estate investing, and but I think it's in most businesses, but sometimes there are some, what I like to call, some fucking snake oil salesman, and it just, for whatever odd reason, is just more people in the real estate industry. I don't know what it is. Maybe because I'm in it, so that's why I think there is. Maybe other people in their own industry might say that there is more. I have no idea, I think it's all perspective. But when you start seeing that, and you see people getting taken advantage of, people getting, being abused and stuff like that, I get sick and tired of it. But when you hear a voice where people want to share that, because the internet and even like stuff like this gives transparency, and most people are too, how can I say it? Well, I guess I don't know how to say it. Is they don't have the fucking balls to, you're just a female, so so even if I say that analogy, it's kind of weird, but is to come out and actually say that, so, and that takes real guts. And I think by doing that, instantly becomes a very polarizing character, right? So, and when I see that, and I see that as someone as talented as you, it's kind of like, what? Let me back something where you're gonna do good in the world, and that's what I'm trying to do, I guess, yeah. And I'm hoping that the people you attract are the exact same people that want to do good, not just in it just because they learn some tactics on being able to create social proof and to be able to sell stuff, like been there, done that, like, nah, like if you're gonna do it, hey, sell some stuff that's actually gonna impact and change the people's lives, change the world, not just for the sake of saying, hey, what, I gotta make a buck, so not to say that, because I've been there where literally I lived out of car, so I get it. When you gotta make money, sometimes you just gotta sell, but don't cross over into the other side where it's unethical and kind of a sleazy-ish thing to when you're selling, so, and it's coming from a dude that has crossed over, and then I'm pivoted back, so I think the biggest thing is really hacking growth, but / revenue / strategy. Right, is because depending on where you're at in the business, I talked about earlier the 4 stages, right? Those tactical stuff that you do in certain stages to get to a certain level will work magically, and you'll make, you can make money, serve a lot of people, and do good in the place, right? But if you use that exact same tactic at a different level to try to get to a different level, it will absolutely stun and crush your growth. Right, and that's a discovery that you have to kind of figure out, and my knack is being able to figure that out very quickly, and I want to be able to give people kind of those skill sets and tools where they can recognize that, so that way if they're in the startup phase and they want to get their business going or make their first, let's just say $1,000 online, right, or whatever their product or services is, then there's certain things that you don't need, but there are certain things that you absolutely must have. Right? And sometimes when they're, for example, if they're strong fact finding, they're researching way too much information, the stuff that you don't need, they might convince themselves that they need that. You know, when someone that with the quick start will be like, nah, you don't need that. You're in the quick start, right? Now, the other part of the people, if they're in the aggressive growth phase where they have already successful businesses, they're making income, and now their challenges, maybe they're at $10,000 a month, $20,000, $50,000, wherever they're at, but then they've been there for the last few quarters. Their big question is like, man, like I'm working, but I'm not having that growth yet, right? You got to add a new strategy. Now, what is that strategy? Well, I don't know yet, but I can help you get closer to it, which is maybe add another channel, another funnel, or maybe the other thing is maybe your offer, right? So these different things that I want to talk about is there, like pricing strategy is a huge one that, I think you and I, we've had conversations about pricing strategy. There's a law of diminishing return. That's another one that I talk about huge on, where certain, systems can take you certain far, but you have to know the cap of that, because once you get towards the cap, to make the gap from, let's just say 100% bucket, right, to 100%, when you start getting over 80%, to get that extra 20% back to the 80-20, it's going to require a lot of energy versus you say, hey, you know what, this model is this model. Let me just go ahead and find another model to actually complement that model, right? So, and or the other people if they want to spin off. So, in a nutshell, if they're watching this and they're hearing this, or I don't know, whichever means that they're getting this, is that know that we're going to be able to touch bases on those 4 phases, as well as be able to help people discover their unique abilities, and then be able to marry a strategy with that. And I'm going to give them just basically 3 core things that has worked for me, and as well as I think people can learn from, even from the stuff that worked for you, and then they can actually use it to create, what's the word? Authentic authority. Does that sound pretty cool?
Yeah.
Look at that, quick start, right? You just come up with stuff. Authentic authority. So you'll learn how to become an authentic authority to be able to create a booming business online. See? Look at that. So.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.